time is very valuable, and I do appreciate you coming. Tonight is going to be suicide prevention and drug prevention. It's a big topic that we host every year with Parent Connection. Again, I'm April Tucker. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Special Programs, but like I told you last time that I'm retiring, so this is my last Parent Connection. But I want to introduce to you Angie Yarbrough. She's going to be your new Federal Programs Director. She is the principal at West Point Middle. West Point Elementary. So she's going to take over, and she will be hosting the next Parent Connection meeting, which is January, and that one is the one that is safe with technology. So please come to it. It is a very informative meeting, just like all of our meetings, but we will have somebody talking to you about how kids can hide things with their cell phones and how dangerous cell phones can be. They're also good, but there are some things that we need to know. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to Scott Carpenter. He's our district social worker. He's going to talk to you tonight about suicide prevention and drug prevention. Then I've already asked some of you if you could, any of you, all of you could stay or come Tuesday the 26th at 11:30. We're going through compliance monitoring. The State Department is going to want to talk to our parents just to see if you're involved or if you're actively doing things at your school. So after Scott gets through, I'm going to talk to you about 5 minutes with that. And then we're going to talk about some turnaround trainings at your school. And then any questions or comments. And I promise you it will be short and sweet because I know that you have things that you've got to get back to. Okay? Scott.
I'll apologize up front. I'm not a speaker. I tried to tell them that, but yet here I am. Like she said, I'm the social worker for the high schools and the counselor for the alternative school. So I have the wild childs, and that's I don't like adults. They scare me, but give me teenagers, I'm good to go. But I'll try to cover some stuff quickly just to let you know. And I want to start out with some statistics to let you see kind of where we're coming from. The main question, the reason I titled it, why don't they just say no? That's what most folks, if they don't have a drug issue, that's what they want to know. Why do they get to it to start with? So let me cover some statistics, and I will break it down by Alabama and more by Coleman County, and then I'll wind it up from there. And I'll show you some pictures of things that you probably will be surprised about. Anyway, what do I do with that clip? No click. There we go. A few of the facts, just statistic-wise. Everybody knows that drugs in the school is a big thing all over the country. Okay, but what you may not know is some of the specific statistics. And like I said, this is a nationwide survey to start with. 8.33%, and most everything's going to be 12 to 17-year-olds because that's the majority of our high school kids. Say they've used drugs in the last month. 50% of the teenagers have misused drugs at least once during their time as a teenager. 86% of the teenagers surveyed said that they know somebody that smokes, drinks, or uses drugs every day in school. So that's what's in our schools. Now, again, I'll make you feel a little bit better about Coleman County here in a minute, but that's kind of where we're at. And everybody thinks that it really starts in college. That's when everybody parties and it gets to going, but it's starting earlier and earlier, and I'll compare some things with 8th graders, 10th graders, and 12th grade here in a minute. If you look at, again, the nationwide survey, 1.19 million binge drinking over the last month. 7.10 million drank it at least once in the last month. 25% plus 8th graders have abused alcohol at least once. Again, we're talking 8th graders. So let that sink in. 9.15 have used alcohol in the last month. And here's where I want you to look at. As an 8th grader, less than 0.5%, or right at 0.5%, say they drank every day. Okay. When it gets to 10th grader, at least 1%. So it doubles there from 8th to 10th. And 12th graders, at least 3%. They drink every day. So like I said, I'm going to cover alcohol first, and then we'll go into a little bit more of the drug stuff. But look at the progression, how early it's starting, and where they end up by 12th grade. Okay. By 12th grade, 62% of the teenagers have abused alcohol. And like I said, our numbers in Coleman are a little bit better, but not tremendously. 46% of the teenagers have tried drugs. That's almost 50% nationwide that have tried some sort. The drug use, well, I didn't mean to mash that, on 8th graders increased 61% between 2016 and 2020. So that's how the culture is taking over in the schools. 8.7% have used drugs in the last month. 21.3% tried drugs at least once. And there were 11.2% of drug overdoses were between 15 and 24. And what you got to realize, like I said, 24, those are still, a lot of them are still very, very young. We have a lot of kids that graduate when they're 19. So this is still while they're in college years. Okay. Teenagers in Alabama, again, ours is a little bit better. But we think in Alabama we're very secluded. Our kids don't see things like they do in Boston, like they do in, California, places like that. But it's still here. Our kids are only 16.10% less likely to use drugs. You think of rural Alabama and then California, you'd think there'd be a humongous difference, but there's not enough. 7% of the teenagers reported using drugs in the last month in Alabama. And this was a survey done about a year and a half ago, so it's pretty current. Among those, 84% of those, the drug of choice, what they used was marijuana. That is the big wave in every school that we've got right now. Kids view marijuana the same way everybody used to do cigarettes. They see nothing wrong with it. It's not a major deal, and it's just something that they see constantly all around them. What I tell the kids at alternative school is you got to remember two things. It's still illegal in Alabama, and you're still underage. It really doesn't matter what your opinion is. Those are the two things we got. 9%, well, almost 10% of teenagers in Alabama reported they used marijuana in the last year. 10%, that's 1 out of every 10 kids in our schools. The good thing is a lot of the hard drugs are not hitting us as heavy. But now I have worked with several kids in the last couple of years that have been fully addicted to cocaine and meth and heroin. I have put 8 kids in treatment in the last 2 years for heroin, and that's in Coleman County. One of the things that we see more of them using are painkillers, and I'll cover Xanax and stuff in a minute, but those are things that they get at home, that parents get sick, they have something wrong with them, they use 3 of them, they feel better, they stick them in the cabinet. These kids can get them months later. You'll never know they're missing. And then if they don't use them themselves, they sell them at school. They sell them on the sidewalk, somewhere in town, driving through the parking lots, those kind of things. Coleman County, things are even a little bit better. The last survey of any kind that was done countywide, it said that they were 8.93% less likely to use alcohol than the average American kid. But again, here's where the marijuana comes into place. We see vaping all over the county. Adults, high school, middle schools. We've took out a lot of, well, I say we took out. We have new policies in place this year that put some strict guidelines and what the punishment is for the kids. We got the court system involved. If you look in your handbook, it's pretty rigid. But the DA was involved. Both of our judges, juvenile judges were involved, juvenile probation, the sheriff's department, and it was unanimous. Everybody said, we got to get this under control. We got to get it out of the school. I will be honest with you, and again, I know I'm talking to the choir here, but half of the kids that have been in trouble over the last couple of years with vapes, the parents would say, well, I bought it for them. I got tired of every time I was looking for mine, it was gone. So again, I'll remind them they're underage and it's illegal. That's all I got to stand on. 12th graders, let me back up. 62.8% of 12th graders that use marijuana use it in their vapes. So even if you see a kid just vaping, it may have more in it than just some flavored water. 12th graders, 82% are more likely to use marijuana in their lifetime than cigarettes. So again, let me say that's where we are nationwide. Cigarettes are kind of going away, but marijuana has moved to the top of the shelves. I'm going nowhere, Ty. There we go. Let me show you some things that may surprise you. These are things that the kids know are there and you may not. There's a guy called Tall Cop that does a couple of conferences that I attend every year, but he brings things to show you. This year's the very top of the sock is a stash compartment where the zipper is. Your kids can have on socks and they can pull them up like this. You see absolutely nothing, and they can have pills or marijuana stuck in the top of that sock, and nobody be the wiser. Again, I'm going to see your faces do this in a minute. Go out. Because it's here, guys. It's here. Stash compartments in the top of the shoes. A lot of these just look like the things that the kids wear every day. But they have compartments built in them. Again, you may buy shoes and not know it's there. The kids know it's there. A lot of the hats have stash compartments Velcroed inside. So again, they have a hat on. That's all you see. Look for this emblem right here. This entire manufacturer's clothing line, accessories, whatever you want to call it. If you see this, that means there's a stash compartment somewhere on that item. Their entire business is built on that. Everything they have has stash compartments located in them. I can't tell you. No, they all have this. I don't know the brand. I should have known so. This is one that blew me away last year because it's just something new that came over in the last couple of years. It looks like a regular debit card. Kids can have it in their wallet. But when you pop it open, it's actually a stash compartment inside of it. So even if we searched them in school, we're not going to pull out all of their debit cards or whatever. So they're slick. Bouncy balls, you see a lot of kids with those. They come apart. Not all of them, but some of them do. I pulled these just off of Amazon so you know what your kids can purchase. Hopefully none of your kids, but those other kids. For $20, they can get this off of Amazon. There's water in the top of it. There's a stash compartment in the middle, and there's water at the bottom. They can carry it right in front of you. You'd never know it was there. Never know it's there. It comes in all flavors. So, if your drink of choice is Pepsi or Mountain Dew, you don't have to even veer away from that. You can still carry the same kind of bottles every day. That's what the school's up against. If we have somebody selling drugs, they can walk in with one of those. And so we have to put limits on a lot of stuff. Clorox wipes, if your kids have these in their room, you might be a little concerned. But no, I was laughing. I told them back here a few minutes ago we have one of those, so I was going to check it before we left. But $29, and it screws apart. It looks like Clorox wipes in the top. In the center, you can stash anything you want to. This one blew me away. For $14, you can get a key fob. And all kind of pills can be stashed right in the center. Have it in their pocket, and they would never know. And again, these are all 2 days ago off of Amazon. If you know most teenagers, their parents order a lot off Amazon. They could order something, have it delivered, put it in the house before you ever get there, and you probably wouldn't ask any questions. So let me cover a few other things, and I'll try to go through this because I know it's a lot of information. But marijuana, the biggest thing is that it is still not approved. The FDA has not approved it for most anything. It has been approved in some situations for medical conditions. The differences that you need to know, there's two components in marijuana. THC, which is also known as Delta-9, is the one that gives them the high. Some kids, if they're just wanting the high, that's what they're looking for. All over places now, you see CBD oil, CBD. It is not known to be anything as far as any kind of addiction. It produces no high, but it has some healing effects type things is what the surveys say. It has been approved, CBD has been approved in some different things for seizures, disorders. The THC has been shown to be effective in people with eating disorders or very severe diseases that they need to gain weight. So there are some benefits to it, and even with alternative school, I tell the kids that. There are benefits to it if it's used correctly. But if the government says it's not ready yet, it's not ready yet. Ready to go. There we go. I just threw this in there real quick because a lot of kids that we see with pill problems, that's their drug of choice will look at Xanax or Percocets because a lot of doctors prescribe those to family members, grandparents, great grandparents. The Xanax it's a depressant. So some kids, when they're looking for a high, they've got so many things going on in their life. They're so anxious. They've got so many things that they just need to suppress for a while. They want to think about it. They don't want to look at it. That's where the Xanax come into place because you just kind of sink down and nothing worries you. The Percocet is for the teenagers that are looking for a high. It gives you a buzz. It's mainly a pain reliever. But the main thing it does, it floods your brain with chemicals saying everything's great, everything's great, everything. So one speeds you up, one brings you down. It's according to what the kids are looking for. Which one's going to be their choice. If you want to know some of the risk, as far as which kids would be higher risk than others, this is just the main things right here. If there's a family history of substance abuse, then that kid's been raised in a situation that it's kind of accepted or you just know it's there. They have a lot more knowledge if it's in the family. Favorable parents, we have a lot of parents, like I said, with the vapes. If the parents say there's nothing wrong with marijuana, it doesn't matter what we say. In that kid's mind, there's nothing wrong with it. Most parents that smoke regularly make sure their kids know there's nothing wrong with it so their kids don't tell the police that it's happening in their house. Poor parenting monitoring. You guys know as well as I do, a lot of parents, both parents are working. You just try to keep your head above water sometimes. Those kids are left alone. They're supervising themselves. They're coming in and out when they want to. Sometimes we can help it. Sometimes we can't. But that plays a part into it. Parental substance abuse. If it's in the home, like I said, it's easy access. Association with delinquent or other peers. That is the biggest thing I can tell you. According to who they're associating with is what becomes the norm. If they're in a group where everybody smokes pot, then smoke pot's normal to them. If they're in a group that nobody's going to tolerate that, then they're probably not going to pick it up. Lack of school connection, and we're really working on that in Coleman County. One of the things that we looked at this last year is that kids that don't have a shirt that says West Point or says Huntsville, they're not connected in any way. They're more at risk than others because they're not connected at school. So, we're trying to give them something to belong to. More of the clubs have bought shirts. A lot of the schools have bought shirts themselves. Connect everybody that we can. Low academic achievements. If they feel like they're failing already, what difference does it make? Childhood sexual abuse. A lot of kids that have been sexually abused in the past are just trying to stay under the radar, let nobody know what happened. And then mental health issues, which is wide open this year. Let me throw this in there about suicide because if there's substance abuse issues going on, a lot of times that kid's trying to escape from something. And if it is severe enough that pills, marijuana, nothing helps anymore, then this is where we end up. I just want to cover a few things. If a kid's talking about wanting to die, talking about the guilt and shame they have, if they feel like their whole family is under attack, or there's a lot of problems there, they've got this big burden on them, those are the kids that are high risk. If they have feelings of hopelessness and just, you see a lot of anxiety building, you see school stresses them out, home stresses them out, everything does, then those are the things that you got to watch out for. And any change in behavior, if you see them start researching, and we see it, we have a program in the school system, and it identifies any kid, if they're on Coleman County systems at all, it flags it, and it sends a report to the principal. If they type anything about suicide, if they're researching ways and all that kind of stuff, it's called a gaggle report. And the school has set it in place, and trust me, we get a lot of them every day. I had a boy the other day, and I had to pull him out of the class and cover it with him, and he said, I was trying to make a sword. And he was trying to make a samurai sword, and he put swords that you can kill with or something like that. So it's very active. It'll flag a lot of things. The biggest thing that we see before this happens is if kids start withdrawing. They have no friends anymore, and even the friends they have, they've kind of cut out of the picture. We've had a couple of suicides in the school system, and let me tell you, that's one of the hardest things you'll ever have to deal with. We had one 3 years ago. I had him in group at 2 o'clock. I saw nothing different. What saved me from feeling beyond responsible is when he left me, he went to another program, an after school program. They had 2 therapists there. They saw nothing different. And then he went to a third place with a therapist there, and there was nothing different. So if not, like I said, I felt like that responsibility was on me as a social worker. I should have seen it coming. So like I said, it's a real thing, guys. The rest of it, I'm sure you've done read by yourself, but like I said, eating or sleeping more, and a lot of times during this phase, drug use will be extremely visible. If you want to know if our kids are still at risk, these are the most recent statistics I could find. Psychiatric-related hospital visits increased 31% last year. And that's because these kids were locked away. Parents a lot of times went on to work, or they were in the house with parents that are drug users or they don't get along with. Girls, the attempted suicides increased by 50.6% compared to 3.7 with guys. And the reason that number is so different, and you probably know it, girls are a whole lot more forthcoming with information than boys are. If the boys even attempted suicide, unless you see a mark or something, you'll never know it. They'll cover it up and keep moving because that's a sign of weakness, and they're never going to let you know they're that vulnerable. The emergency room visits, I said, went up 26% during the summer of 2020, and then went up 50% since winter. So pretty scary. So like I said, I wanted you to see that, to know even our very best kids are suffering. Through this pandemic, it's affected everybody, but kids foremost, I think, above everybody. This year, I have dealt with a lot of teachers' kids, parents calling, and it's not that they're in major issues, but things have changed. They took on pressures that they don't know how to deal with. So that's an everyday thing. These are the number one places that we refer kids to. Things like that have these numbers on them are posted all over every school. If the kids will take the time to do that, and like I said, I cover it with a lot of kids that I see. I make sure they have these numbers handy, but that's just where we are with it. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. I could talk all day long and in tomorrow, and I imagine y'all be ready to shoot me, but this is a topic that we can't pretend like it's not in Coleman, and it's not in our schools. We're doing everything humanly possible to put a lid on it, try to get drugs out of the school, but our county is inundated with it. So it just makes sense that it's going to be wherever the kids are. That's who they're going to target, the least resistant, the most vulnerable. And again, I could show you all kind of things. One of the biggest things that's happened nationwide in the last year is marijuana is being put in gummy bears and very, very small candies. And they're giving them to kids in some of the bigger cities. The kids don't know what they're taking. They've had multiple overdoses with little children. So anyway, keep your guards up. If you see anything that I can help with, you can reach me anytime. Like I said, they can find me here. Everybody's got my cell number. I'll be glad to help with anybody.